probably when I met Jonathan, I was probably on my 5th trip. I've been around for a long time. It's not been an easy process for me to get sober and stay sober for any length of time. My sobriety date is June 1st, 2022. If y'all don't know, I'm nervous. I'm not a very good speaker, but it's real important for me to express what this program and God has done in my life today. From where I was to where I am today is a miracle. I was born in Texas in February 20th, 1980. From a broken home. I've suffered the consequences from alcohol since before I was born. My parents split up before I've never met my father. My mom remarried to a man when I was young. I was 2 years old when they married, and to say that they had a dysfunctional relationship would be putting it mildly. I grew up in a lot of abuse. I remember a lot of yelling, a lot of crying, a lot of being scared, a lot of blood, broken glass, things of that nature. It wasn't a very pleasant childhood, but it's the only one I knew, so it was normal to me. I moved to North Carolina when I was 6 years old. I remember having my six-year-old birthday, turning 6 in North Carolina, so what I'm about to say now what happened when I was in Texas, so I was under 6 years old. I remember my sister is 6 years older than I am, so anything that she was starting to do, I was starting to do. So if she was smoking a cigarette when she was 10 years old, I was 4 years old smoking a cigarette. I was doing a lot of adult things at a very early age. Things that children aren't supposed to be exposed to. I remember my first beer. I was probably 4 years old. I remember like it was yesterday. It was a long neck Budweiser. I was sitting in a blue Chevrolet truck in the middle of a mesquite field in Texas. I remember like it was yesterday. I could still see the sweat glistening off the bottle. And since that day, alcohol has been my obsession. I drank that beer. I probably didn't drink anymore since then until I was probably 7 or 8. That's when I started sneaking beers out of my parents' cooler. Access to alcohol has never been a problem for me. There's always at least a case of beer somewhere in the house. Bottles of liquor in the cabinets. I can't say my parents are alcoholics. They drink every day. They drank every day of my natural life that I know of. But for some reason, 10 o'clock rolls around, they go to bed, unless they're fighting all night. And on the weekends would be a different story. They might throw down a little bit on the weekends. Let's see what we're gonna do here. So yeah, early on I started drinking. I was a wild child from the get-go. I caught my first charge when I was 10 years old for trespassing and vandalism. So I didn't start off life on a strong foot. I remember I was getting paddled in the first grade for cussing. I got asked not to come back to 2 schools before I was in the first grade. When I was in the 2nd grade, my mom was a school teacher. She taught at O'Neill, so I went to O'Neill from the time I was in 2nd grade to the 8th grade, except for 1 year I went to Farm Life. O'Neill was a very small school at the time, probably 20 people in the entire classroom, so I was kind of sheltered. And when I went to O'Neill, I am not from a wealthy family. I got there on a scholarship because my mom worked there. I lived in a tobacco field in a little small single-story house, and I went to school with a bunch of $1 million rich kids. So I didn't feel a part of it all at an early age. I knew what it was like to be different. So I had to try extra hard at everything. So I was really good at sports. If I applied myself at school, I was good in classes. I made good grades. If I applied myself and if I was learning, if I got bored though, that's when the trouble would start. I got exposed to public school in the 5th grade, and I spent more time being suspended than anything. They definitely asked me not to come back. And I was probably acting out because of the trouble at home. I was the middle child, so I was kind of left to my own devices. So in order to get attention, I got in trouble. That was the only way I knew how to get attention. So they asked me not to come back. Went back to O'Neill. Now, mind you, my mom's a school teacher there. So in the 8th grade, I decided it was a good idea to, that's when I got introduced to drugs. My first drug I ever did was acid. I was in school. We ate acid in the bathroom. I didn't know I had a dentist appointment that day, so I'm tripping at the dentist office, and they couldn't understand why I couldn't stop laughing. And I got away with that by a miracle. But then we started getting into pot. First time I ever smoked pot, we got caught. The mom of the parents' house we were at took the bag of grass, told on us, so we get in trouble. So I'm already 0 for 1. And come to find out she smoked all the pot. That kind of pissed me off. All right. So, and we were drinking too. Alcohol's all through my story. If I'm talking about drugs, I'm drinking at the same time because I didn't go hand in hand. That was me and alcohol. That was my first true love. I didn't do anything without alcohol. Second time I tried to smoke pot was at the school. We got caught, got kicked out of O'Neill. That was a big embarrassment for my mom because obviously she's a school teacher. So now I go from O'Neill private school to Pinecrest. Back then it was crime fest for sure. And it was a culture shock to me. First day of school, there's a 30-man riot in the first period hadn't even started, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But anyways, I fit in. I found my people. It wasn't long before I could tell who I could get what I needed to get, and I proceeded to say the hell with school. There'd be days where I would take all my book bags out of my book bag. I'd fill my book bag up full of beer. I'd go to school on the bus. I'd be drunk before I got to school. And then I'd just sit in the back behind Pinecrest, smoke cigarettes, and drink beer all day. To say I had an attendance problem would be an understatement. It was, at the time, you could only miss 8 days, and I was missing 50, 60 days at a time. But I would work out a deal with my teachers that if I could pass the exam, they would pass me for the class. So I would go right before the exams. I'd study real hard, and then I would make the highest grade in the classroom. So it was people were puzzled by why I couldn't act right. I mean, if I had acted right and done what I was supposed to do, there's no telling what my potential would have been. And I'm pretty sure that's true for a lot of people in this room. I've noticed that a lot of us here are very talented and very gifted. We have misplaced aggression, I guess, to put it mildly. I also mentioned I learned how to drive at a very early age. I was 11 years old when I learned how to drive a 5-speed. I would put the John boat in the back of the truck, and I'd go down to the pond and fish, and I'd just skate. I did anything I could to get out of the house. Anything I could. I would sit outside and I'd shoot basketball for hours on end, just not to go into the house because you never know what's going to happen. I eat fast to this day because you sit at the table long enough, you never know if there's a dish going to get thrown at you or what the hell's going to happen. Let me try to get this right. So I learned how to drive at an early age, so I learned how to sneak out at an early age and ride the roads. It's a miracle I'm not dead, or I haven't killed anybody for DUIs or drinking and driving, because I've been drinking and driving probably since I was 12 years old. I've got 6 DUIs to show for it. I've been to prison 5 times because of it. At the age of 14, I was suspended from school for smoking cigarettes, and my mom kicked me out of the house. So I packed all my stuff up and I was walking to my buddy's house. He lived probably a couple miles through the woods, and he wasn't there at the time. So I was walking back. I didn't know what I was going to do, but then I seen this street light at this person's house, and underneath it was a pretty brand new Dodge Dakota Sport, and lo and behold, it had the keys in it. So I pushed the truck out of the driveway as best I could. It wasn't good enough because they heard me, and I stole that truck, and I was joyriding. I was trying to find one of my buddies that was home so I could park the truck and be done with it, but nobody was home. Everybody was out partying. So in between going from one friend's house to another friend's house, a sheriff's deputy pulled in behind me, and when he put the lights on me, I dropped it down into 3rd gear and I stomped it, and I went on a high-speed chase through Highland Trails, and in the same community I live in now, as a matter of fact. But I was in Highland Trails. I got lost. I ended up in somebody's driveway. I jumped out of the vehicle and took the sheriff deputy that was chasing me on a high-speed run. I was high speed. He wasn't much of nothing. He was a little overweight, and he wasn't going to catch me, because at that time I was playing soccer and I could run for days. But anyways, I was 14 and I'm running through the woods, running from the police, and I got away from them, and I spent 2 weeks on the run. One week of that, I was in the woods, pillaging through people's houses to get food, and finally, one of the guys that I was trying to get to originally saw me on the side of the road and picked me up, and I was staying with him. And a week later, the police came knocking on the door, and I got my first real big charge. What I forgot to mention was when I jumped out of the car, I left my bag of weed sitting in the console. So I got a possession charge, a misdemeanor larceny of a motor vehicle charge. So having that pot in the car, they said it'd probably be a good idea if I go to treatment. So 15 years old, I'm going to my first treatment center. It was at Amethyst in Charlotte. It's a 28-day program. I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. I didn't know anything about disease, couldn't even comprehend what a disease was, what addiction was, what alcoholism was. But I knew I wasn't at home, and I knew that nobody was yelling at me, nobody was screaming at me. So it was a pretty good little deal for 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden I got to go home. And I said, no, I can't go home. So I went to a group home in Sanford, North Carolina, the Woodrow Scoggins place for adolescents. That was the first time in my life I felt like I was safe. And I stayed there 11 months, going to meetings, got a sponsor, working the steps. Came here a couple times on home passes. Thought life was good when I was, it was really good. It was the first time in my life I was happy. I wasn't getting in trouble all the time, didn't have the need to get in trouble all the time. But that time it ran out, and I had to come home, and I stayed sober for 2 years. I came home. I stayed coming to meetings. I got a sponsor when I was here. He's not here anymore. He moved. I think he's still sober. I remember Chuck was here. He was my sponsor at the time. He's the only one I remember, except maybe Bill. but I stayed connected. I stayed connected with the house I was at. I would go back from here to Sanford, going to meetings all the time, going to conventions. I was doing what AA told me to do, bottom line, and life was good. I'm not going to use what I'm about to say now. I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but it didn't help. There was an older gentleman there, and he kind of took me under his wing. He would talk to me, and he would take me to meetings and stuff like that. And he was over at my house one day, and he tried to do a little bit more than carry the message. And I told him he needed to get out of my house, and that was the last time I went to an AA meeting for a very long time. It's important if you're in here carrying the message that you carry the message, and that's it. Don't bring your agendas, because you scare somebody off, especially a kid. But anyways, I stayed sober for a little while. After that, I just stopped coming to this meeting, and I was still going to Sanford and stuff like that. I stayed sober for quite a while. I picked up my 2-year chip, and that was a big deal. I remember it was my senior year in high school. I got a bag of grass. The guy sitting next to me, that's all he did every day. He'd come to class high as hell, and I succumbed to the peer pressure because well, not the peer pressure, I succumbed to my disease. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic. And I was a kid in high school, and all my friends would get high, so hell, maybe I'm not that bad. So I got a quarter bag of weed from him. I went home that night and I smoked that joint. I was telling somebody this story yesterday. I smoked that joint and I was laying in my bed afterwards, and y'all believe me or not, I might have been high, I might have been tripping, I don't know, but to me it was the devil came through my window and sat above my head and paralyzed me with fear and sucked the life out of me. And from that day on, my life has been hell for the longest time. I've had the hardest time getting sober and staying sober. I would, because I didn't have God in my life is what it was. I believed, but I didn't believe. And I was still so young, I still didn't understand anything about being a man, being an adult, none of that. But I proceeded to party hard for a long time. I got my first DUI at 19. Oh, I forgot to mention, while I was sober, 2 years sober, I got a job pulling beer for the grocery stores, which means you case the shelves. When the beer runs out, somebody's got to come fill it back up, and that was my job. I got paid good doing that. But once I relapsed, I got paid even better. If you wanted alcohol under the age of 21, you came to see me, because I had it by the boatload. 19, I got my first DUI when the first U.S. Open came. It was 1999. After I got my DUI, I got a job working at Budweiser, loading the trucks. My little brother, Danny Smith, I met him, I didn't meet him there, but I saw him there, and we started loading beer trucks together, and let's just say that's where our alcoholism really took flight. That's when we learned how to drink. I had a couple of I had like 3 or 4 little dope spots I would go, a little party house that we'd go to, and I had their closets from floor to ceiling slammed full of beers. Because I wasn't going to run out. They told me to stop coming to the house with all that alcohol, because they weren't alcoholics like me. But needless to say, I stole a lot of beer from Budweiser. I got fired from Budweiser for being at the Christmas party, 19 years old, drunk as a skunk. I got tired of waiting in line, so I went around to the bar, and I was serving people beer while I was drinking beer. And that seemed all right with me. I got in trouble because the vice president's wife wanted to dance with me, and I got a little bit, or she got a little bit aggressive, and got back to work that Monday, and they said I was fired for underage drinking. I said, well, y'all the ones that gave it to me. But anyways, that's probably, it's a good thing I got fired from Budweiser. I would have been dead for sure. You would have thought the first DUI would have stopped me, but I drank every day and drove every day until I got my second DUI, and my third DUI, and my fourth DUI, and my fifth DUI, and my sixth DUI. I drink, I'm gonna drive a car. If I go back to drinking again, I'll drive another car, I'll get another DUI. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I didn't go to prison until I was 27 years old. I was on my third DUI, working on my fourth one. I was staying at a buddy of mine's house, and we were smoking so much crack, it was ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous, and you know, you get to a point where it's just damn enough. And I left, and I didn't know what to do. I came to a meeting, and some people there, they took me in, and they were real nice to me, and they showed me what it was like to be sober as an adult. And I stayed sober for quite a while, or not quite a while, but I got into the program, I got active, got a sponsor, I did my fourth and my fifth step. You know, I come to a shit ton of meetings. Thought I was doing everything that I was supposed to do, but that one thing they say don't be in a relationship the first year, nah, scratch that. I got with one of the sickest ones that I could find. She went out, I went out. It was a damn mess. More charges, all that good stuff. So I'll come into AA and I'll do just enough to stay sober for just long enough until something real happens. And then when life hits me in the face, I don't have no kind of answer for it. Because I've just been over here doing all this lip service for this program. Like Jonathan said, all this knowledge that I have is useless if you don't do anything with it. Let's see. I'd like to tell y'all about all my charges, man, but we don't have enough time for that. I've been to Dark Cherry 2 times. If you're not familiar with that, that's the treatment center they send you to when you're on probation and you can't stop passing drug tests. I'll tell you a little something about powerlessness. I'm on intense probation for my 4th DUI and got drug tests every week. On the same day, I have a drug test every week at the same time, and I can't stay clean long enough to pass a drug test. Smoking crack, which gets out of your system in 3 to 4 days. I did manage to not smoke crack for 10 days and still burnt a hole in the bottom of that can. And I was at the point one time when I was up there and I just got paid. I had a job that would pay me cash every day. I just got paid, had to go to the probation, straight to the probation officer. From Whistling Pines to Carthage, it's a straight shot. I'm Whistling Pines, I go to West End to my dope spot, riding back to Carthage down Dowd Road. I can't even make it from West End to Carthage where I got to stop and smoke me some crack, knowing I'm getting ready to take another piss test for the 15th time and fail it. And I got there, and my probation officer's name was Frank Cundinger. I don't know if y'all know him or not, but he helped quite a lot of people around here. I told him, I said, I can't do it. I can't stop. I don't know how to stop. And he said, all right, we're going to get you some help. And he got me some help, and that was my first time at Dark Cherry. Every time I've ever picked up a white chip, I wanted to stay sober. I knew I needed to stay sober. And I truly, desperately wanted my life to be better. And I would come in and ride that pink cloud, thinking I'm doing the program because my life's getting better, because when your life's down here in the gutter and you get sober and you stop doing all that dumb stuff and you actually show up for work on time and you start paying your bills, my life gets a little better. I'm thinking I'm doing the program when in fact I'm just getting better because I'm not doing the dumb stuff. And when life hits me, I don't have that power, that solution So I would ultimately go out. And anger was my number one thing. I get pissed off about something, I go back out. I got lost where I'm at as far as my treatment centers go. Anyways, let's just say I picked up a lot of white chips. I've got a lot of 9-month chips, and I've got a lot more white chips. Riding that pink cloud. Bottom line is I didn't ever tap into that source that everybody talks about, step 2 and 3. And that's where true sobriety is, for me anyway. I'll try to fast forward a little bit. My life in my 20s and my 30s is a lot of the same. I've been to prison 5 times, 6 times, drinking and driving, stealing, all kinds of nonsense. I don't want to dwell on all that. Let's just say I managed to screw my life up pretty good. I had I got out of prison I did 2.5 years in prison. I got out, met this girl. Probably shouldn't have met her. Probably shouldn't have been with her. She was a little young. She ended up getting pregnant. So I had to do the right thing and try to help raise that child. She's 12 years old. I haven't seen her in over 4. Well, I saw her last year, or 18 months ago, briefly. But prior to that, it was 4 years. I have a son that's 9 years old. I haven't seen in 18 months. Prior to that, it's 4 years. That's all due to my selfishness and self-centered, thinking about me all the time, doing what I wanted to do, not thinking about anybody else but myself. I lost that relationship while I was in prison, that's one of the things that kind of hurt. It bothers me today. I don't know if I should try to pursue that and try to get back in their lives. I don't know if that's selfish of me, or if I should just let them come. Let that bridge heal itself and let them come to me. I don't know how to navigate that right now, so I'm just going to kind of leave it alone. I got introduced to heroin when I was 37. That was a hell of a ride. I knew back in the day when I watched Pulp Fiction for the first time, about 11 or 12 years old, I was going to put a needle in my arm, and I was going to knew what that guy felt like. And lo and behold, I figured it out. That was a terrible ride. It ended with me going into prison. I'll tell you about some insanity. My dope man was at the hospital having a heart attack. I go over there to hang out, to be with him. He says, "Let's go get a bag." And we get the bag, and I take my shot, and I'm shooting him up. He's having a heart attack. He's at the hospital for having a heart attack, and that's how strong our disease, that addiction is. Anyways, the nurse walked in as I'm popping him, and it was a shit show after that. Needless to say, 9 months later, I get out of prison. I met the woman. Well, right before that, a couple weeks before that, I met the woman that I'm with now. I tell you, I can pick them sick. We're on our second date. The day after, I go to prison for 9 months for possession of heroin, and she rode with me the whole time. Yeah, she's sick. I'm sick. We're both sick. We're getting better though. Anyways, I get out of prison. I move in with her. About a month later, where she's expecting a baby. This is my little son, 4-year-old Keegan. He's a bundle of joy. I hope y'all get to meet him one day. But anyways, that's in 2017, 18. I get out of prison, so it's 2018. She's pregnant. I'm back to drinking full swing. You would have thought by now I'd learned my lesson, but no, I hadn't. I'm drinking, she's drinking, we're fighting. There towards the end, man, I got to be a very angry individual. I don't know if it's because of all the AA I got in my head. You can't drink that shit out of you. I remember I'd be chugging a bottle, I was like, just trying to get to my bottom, and knowing it wasn't going to come anytime soon. So I'm in this relationship now. We've got this child on the way, and I'm a piece of shit. I don't know how to be a man. I'm 37 years old. Don't know how to be a man. Don't know how to be responsible for anything. We ended up getting a fight, going to pick up something for the kid, some kind of baby thing for the kid. We get in a fight. I get arrested for assault on a female in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Violates my probation. I go to jail again for 3 months. I get out. I get back out right before we're about to have the baby. I get out and I go right back to drinking again like a dumbass. And when we go right back to fighting, now she didn't deserve anything I did to her, but she didn't avoid it either. And it got ugly. It got real ugly. She liked to push back just like I like to push forward, and we had a rocky road there for a little while. Rocky enough to where she tried to run me over with a car. That was actually a good thing because I can't walk very good anymore. I can't run the streets, and I can't function like I used to. She can get away from me now. But it slowed me down. I stopped. I couldn't walk for 6 months, so I thought it was a good idea to start shooting methamphetamines in 2019. God and methamphetamines are the only two things that ever stopped me from drinking. I haven't really drank since then. That was in 2019, but I shot a boatload of methamphetamines. I know it's AA, but this is my story. If you ever done any methamphetamines and you ever stayed up for 2 weeks at a time, shit gets a little crazy. We got crazy. I'm talking about devil crazy. It was not good. It's a miracle that I'm alive. It's a miracle she's alive. It's a miracle that people around us are alive. I put that woman through hell, physically, emotionally. It was not good. It was very good. I believe in God today because I've seen the devil. He was looking back at me in the mirror. It was one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. Anyways, that lasted up until about, I would say I started shooting meth in September of 19, and that lasted about September of 2020. That's when I got sentenced to, I didn't get sentenced, I got arrested. I got arrested probably 25 times in that time. I know the law came to the house on average every 10 days. And we're talking about 3 or 4, 5 or 6, a lot of police came when they got called. So I went to jail in 2020. I met a bunch of guys in here, in these rooms, in jail. And when I got out of jail and I seen them in here, I was like, that gives me hope. Because prior to coming into AA, I couldn't really identify with anybody. There was a lot of people here that might have spilled some wine on their carpet and then had a bad night or something, and they got sober. And now it's AA is not the same as it was back when I came in. We got some horrible people in here now. I can identify with that. I know what it's like to live on the street, and I'm not going to say that, but I know what it's like to be at the bottom, if you know what I mean. I spent 11 months in the county jail. If you've ever been in the Moore County Jail, 11 months in the Moore County Jail is hell. I went at about 160 pounds. I came out at about 142 pounds. I met my man out there. We quarantined together for about a day. I got bonded out. He stayed in. I had to come back and sing probably 2 or 3 times. But I remember him talking about he's going to Samaritan Colony, and I was like, yeah, man, that's a good place, man. That's a good place. I'll help you out. If you get it, if you do it, you know what I mean? That's what I was thinking. I said, you better do it. And I was listening to his story. I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that guy right there. But he's here, so there's hope for everybody. Love you, man. There's a couple other guys in here that I met in jail. They're still sober. I'm not going to say their names because they're not here, but I would have called them out if they were. And that gave me hope. When I seen my little brother here and Chris Torres here, these guys I know them from out there back in the day. They can stay sober. Me and Danny Smith, we drank a lot together, a lot. I mean, it was bad. That was probably the worst time of my life, drinking wise. That's when I was in the shakes, DTs, and all that good stuff. We had to wake up and drink. It was bad. It was rough. We made some pretty terrible music too. I wanted to be a rock star. I didn't mention all that. Bands I was in and the shows I played. Anyways, I get out of jail, come straight to an AA meeting. Actually, first of all, I go to the DSS office because I want to get my son back because they took my son away from me. I hadn't seen him. I wanted to know what I needed to do to get my son back. And then I went to an AA. Danny picked me up and I went to an AA meeting that night, and I got back into the program, and I started doing this deal again. And there was some hope, and I started feeling good. And then just one day, and like I said, I wasn't putting any effort into developing this relationship with God. And right before Christmas of 2000, I don't even know what year, 221, I went back out for a weekend. I was staying with Danny at the time, and then it was probably a good idea that I don't live there, so I started living in my truck. I picked up a white chip, and I was living in my truck in the middle of winter time and trying to do this thing, but I was losing hope fast, and I was starting to get lost again, and I didn't know what to do. And I started going here and there. I'd pick and choose my days. I would go back out here. I'd come back into the rooms a little bit. I wouldn't tell anybody this. I was one night I was in Fayetteville at the Red Roof Inn with people I didn't even know, doing things I shouldn't have been doing, and I got a hold of a little bit of fentanyl. And I'm used to doing cocaine. We do gagger lines of cocaine, and I thought I was going to do a gagger line of fentanyl, and no, I was dead in about 30 minutes on the parking lot of the Red Roof Inn. And luckily somebody called the ambulance, because I remember coming to. I was stripped of all my clothes, sitting on a bed in the hallway of the hospital, urgent care in Fayetteville. They cut all my clothes off. I don't know why they did all that, but middle of winter, they said, "You're fine." I said, "Oh, yeah, you damn right I'm fine, let me go." So I stroll out of the Fayetteville hospital, not knowing where my truck is, not knowing where I'm at, with a white sheet. I still got that white sheet that's sitting on my bed right now. So it's a reminder. And it just got worse there for a while, for a couple of months, and it got really bad. And then when I shoot dope, I go to messing with my eye, and I got fiberglass in it from doing installing fiberglass underneath the house one time. I really did get fiberglass in it, but my shit was already messed up. Anyways, I rubbed a blister on my eyeball. Have you ever had a blister on your eyeball? It's not a cool thing. I'm still on the street. I just lost my job. I was working, had a really good job, some really good people. I couldn't make it to work, and it was probably best I didn't didn't get them involved in all that nonsense because it was getting ready to get crazy. Trying to get my timeline right. Anyway, one day, my better half, she was going through some stuff. She went and got some help for it, and I didn't. I stayed out. That damn thing on my eye exploded in my hand, and I got arrested that night, needless to say, with my eyeball flapping. Spent 3 weeks in the county jail. Again, it's been a year since I've been in jail. I'm back in the jail again. Everybody knows me there. They're like, hey, welcome back. And that was misery, pure misery. Knowing what I had just got through, throwing everything, because I just got back into my kids' life, my oldest two children's life, just got back into them. Got to go see my son play some baseball and all that stuff, and things were going good, and I just like that, man, threw it all away again. I get out of jail, and around Mother's Day, I get out of jail, and I have nothing. Everything's gone. All my tools, my truck, everything's gone. And that's a good thing, because then I was at the end of my rope, and I was ready to die at that point. I was lucky she would let me stay at the house every now and again, and we'd argue and fight. And I'd leave. I'd go sleep on the park bench outside the DSS office. And I was sitting there sleeping one day, and I woke up that morning, and somebody was driving through there, and they stopped and said, "Hey, man, you need to get some food." And that's the first time that, it looked, you could look at me and tell that it was bad, man. I had nothing. So I started calling Mark, Christopher, and Chase. Started calling them guys, trying to see if I can get into detox. And they're like, "Yeah, go to more, whatever the First Health is up here." And I said, I didn't want to do it. I got drunk, and I would sit out there, and I was trying to decide to go in there, and I couldn't do it. And then I finally got the treatment at Bridge to Recovery, and then at Bridge to Recovery, we were doing a Bible lesson. It was a faith-based place, and we were doing a Bible lesson called The Prodigal Son. And I had I don't want to weird anybody out, but I had the Holy Spirit come over me, man, and it was a washing and a cleansing inside my soul. And ever since that day, life has been hopeful, and I've had gratitude in it. And I got out of there, and I went to a sober living house in Locust, North Carolina, which is faith-based. It was not AA-oriented. We did 3 Bible studies a week, church on Sundays. I'd go to a meeting on Mondays, maybe, but I wasn't really into the program. But what I was doing, because I knew the program. I've been through that big book 100 times, done the steps multiple times. Well, I did at the treatment center I was at. I did the first 5 steps. So what I spent my first year in recovery this time was developing a relationship with God, understanding what His message was for me. Because I can't do the God of my understanding, because if I do that, then I'm going to corrupt it, and I'm going to manipulate it, and then I'm going to be able to do what I want to do. So I got into another book, which is black and white. You can't manipulate what it says, and I got into that, and I read that, and I studied that. And to say my life is perfect right now is it's not true. It's not. I'm still an asshole 75% of the time. Maybe 75% of the time. Probably more like 90. But I get up and I show up and I do what I'm supposed to do. My routine is I get up, I put my readings on, I get up and I go to work, and I'm on time and I'm responsible, and I do what I'm supposed to do, and I do what I say I'm going to do. And today, right before I came to this meeting, I got a message from that woman that I put through so much hell. And she sent a message. She said she loved me, and she said that she was proud of me, and she said a little prayer for me. So, and that right there just goes to show me that God is working in my life, it's working in the people's lives around me. And if I continue to accept that, my life is going to be good. I can't express how much AA means to me and what it's done throughout my entire life over 28 years. It's always been a part of my drinking. It's always been inside my head. It's always tormented me, and it's always given me an answer. This building right here is very special to me. I spent many meetings on a Saturday night thinking I would never, ever get asked to speak up here. And I probably won't ever again, but and that's okay. And that's okay. But it's been the world to me. There's a lot of people have been here through a lot of, and have seen a lot of my struggles. And knowing that they're still here, it still gives me hope. And that's pretty much all I got to say about that. Thank you.